Okay. Hi, Dad. Let's start with when and where were you born?
What?
When and where were you born?
I was born at the old St. Mark's Hospital in Salt Lake, and my parents rushed me down there and put me in the birthing room, you know, and I can't remember much because I was inside the confined quarters.
And what was your birth date?
My birthday was September 4th, 1941,
We're in the middle of the war, right?
just 2 months before World War II broke out.
Oh, that's right. It did break out after that, didn't it?
Maybe that's why World War II broke out. I don't know.
Okay. How did your family come to live in Bountiful?
Well, that's a long story. See, Grandma Arbuckle lived in North Salt Lake, down there just off of, from Cudahy's down there, you know where that was. And so Dad lived up in Woods Cross, up there on the highway. It used to be Highway 91. Now it's Fifth West. Anyway, Dad was a pretty flamboyant person. He'd kind of grown up as a single only child because his sister died when she was 21. That was Lois. And so before that, he was a little pampered, spoiled kid, you know. And so then but he was determined to make something out of himself. What's the other questions? I might get into something ahead of myself.
The question was, how did your family come to live in Bountiful?
In Bountiful, we never did. We were
Woods
living in
Cross?
Woods Cross.
Oh, I thought you lived in Bountiful. It's right
Well,
there
it
next
was
to Bountiful.
Bountiful and Woods Cross were just like that.
Yeah.
It- and so Bountiful always got the glory and we got the gook, you know. So we got not a lot of fanfare because Woods Cross was considered part of Bountiful anyway.
Yeah, but Woods Cross has that really cool conference center, huh?
It was what?
That Woods Cross has that really big, cool conference center there, right? So you got that there. That's
No,
good.
not been.
Oh, it wasn't there then?
They had the conference center up in Bountiful, you know, in the center on the main street off the side.
Wow.
And
It was the tabernacle.
the tabernacle was there already. We didn't build that, the pioneers did. So, you know, I'm going to give them credit where credit's due.
Okay. What was the house like? How many rooms, bathrooms? Did it have electricity, indoor plumbing, telephones?
His grandma's house or his?
Your house growing up, when you were growing up.
My house, what?
The house that you were growing up in.
What, describe the house. What was it like inside?
It was, first of all, my dad didn't have one, and Grandpa Brown was working for Bountiful Lumber. So he was able to work a deal where they could get lumber at a discounted rate. And they decided to build this house where it is, it's now a dentist office out there, you know. And so Grandpa and Dad built the house brick by brick, everything. Put the steep gables on it and everything. And then they sat back and enjoyed, you know.
How many rooms were in it?
What?
How many rooms were in it?
The rooms were like 2 bedrooms up, and it was all a big basement downstairs until Robert was in it, and then he talked him into making a bedroom downstairs. And Roger came along and he had a fancy desires. He put in a fireplace downstairs.
Oh, wow.
And made it pretty grandiose. That was after I was gone, so, well, I didn't get to see much of that, but yeah, Grandpa and Dad built it, and then Dad built the garage behind it, and I helped him lifting, moving bricks around, you know. And he built the little patio off to the side. That's gone now. But we used to go out there and have picnic dinners with my family, and Mom thought that was the greatest.
And you had animals, right? Or you had chickens. I know you had chickens.
Grandpa Brown had a horse that we used to go over and try to ride, and I was always worried about that because I didn't ever get to ride it on my own very much. Robert was always sitting in front of me going like crazy, and he didn't know what he was doing either. One day we went behind Grandpa Brown's house, and they had a clothesline across there, and it caught Robert right across the stomach because he wasn't watching what he was doing, you know.
Ouch.
And it was like a slingshot. We both got shot off the back of the horse. The horse came out just fine. We came out a little bit sore, you know, on the thing.
What other animals did you have?
I had a dog named Nellie. That was the best hunting dog I ever seen. We used to take her out on the marshes duck hunting, and she'd jump in the slough and swim across and scare the ducks out that were on the islands out there, you know. And then I'd shoot them, and she'd go get them and bring them back to me. That's right in the water. She'd just jump in and go in. And one day there was a hunter behind me. He watched that for a minute, and he says, "I'll give you $100 for her right now." I says, "She's not for sale. She's my dog, you know." So.
Now, did you train her, or was she just was a good dog?
What?
Did you train her, or was she just a good dog?
Every bit. I trained her for college and everything else. No, she had that pretty naturally. She was a Labrador Retriever, and she was pretty good. She got me in trouble though one day. We were out pheasant hunting, and here's Lee Cahoon over there on the other side of the field, out from here to Gil's house, I guess. Just an alfalfa field that had been mowed. And he scared out a big rooster pheasant. And he shot it, and it dropped down. Guess what Nell was trained to do? Go get it.
Oh, no.
She went and got it and brought it back to me, and he starts yelling, "That's my pheasant."
Oh, no.
You know, and so I ended up carrying the pheasant over to him and giving it to him, or I'd have been shot too. You know?
Yeah. Now tell us about your neighbor. The one, didn't you have a neighbor that did cougars, that caught cougars?
Our houses were pretty far apart in those days. And of course, Grandma and Grandpa Brown's was just 3 doors down. So whenever I had momentous problems, I would go down and tell Grandma Brown my problems, and she would sit us around this very table here. And she would listen to my problems patiently and fix me a cup of hot
What's that?
milk and hot water.
What? A cup of hot.
Anyway, we would suck the cup of hot, and it always made me feel better. So. And Grandpa Brown affectionately called me his cantankerous little hellion.
Is that what he called you, really?
Yes.
What were your brothers called? Do you remember?
What were my brothers called?
Yeah, did he give them nicknames too?
Not as bad as mine.
What did you do to deserve that?
I don't know. There was only one time that I really deserved it. And I was throwing apples at the big tree behind their house there. And then right behind it is the kitchen pantry. And my dad and Grandma Brown was in there doing dishes in the sink. And I missed the tree. and it punched a hole right through the window, and the apple dropped into the sink. And my dad turned around and looked at me, and he couldn't kill me on the spot because, you know, they were there. So he didn't say much. He just got the apple and gave it to Grandma and looked at the window, and they put some tape and paper over the hole in the window. Made a cool hole though. It was a smooth, just apple-sized hole. You know, it didn't break the whole window out. Another time at Grandma's, she was a tender-hearted person, and Grandpa Brown would sit on the back porch, and he had an old 22 single shot, and there were rats in the chicken coop behind the there. He was a crack shot. He'd wait until those rats come out, and then he'd shoot them, take them up on the freeway and throw them on the road and let them get smashed.
Ew.
He didn't want to get rid of me. Anyway, one day I went out there, and I was a rat hole there, and I was looking at the rat hole, and here comes a bunch of baby rats out. And Grandma's out there, hit him with the shovel, and she gives me this shovel. Hit him, hit him, hit him, you know. And I can't hit baby rats, you know. And she got really irritated at me. That was just one of many things that happened, and
Tell her about Gordon.
Gordon Pace was our neighbor on the north side of us, with a field in between us. He ran the DeAnn, and he was really a kind of hero to me. He would have been my hero, because when I was in high school, he hired me to drive his ice cream truck to Salt Lake and Ogden, and he gave me a job, and I was able to earn money that way. And of course, he had his problems. He had bloodhounds. He used to go hunting cougars down in Payson. He'd bring these cougars home alive in cages, and they were next to our house. And they'd set up a yowl, and then the bloodhounds would start yelling, woo, woo, woo. My dad would call him up on the phone, shut those damn dogs up or I'm coming over and shoot it. So he would keep them quiet as best he could, but I'd go over there and look at those cougars, and then he caught bobcats too, and the cougars are like, you're my lunch, you know. They don't come at you like a bobcat does. Bobcat would sit in the back of the cage and say, I don't know whether I'll take this guy on or not, but I think I will, you know. And then all of a sudden they'd come out and wham, and they'd hit the wire just in front of me. Always kind of make me jump back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But he got one cougar that had chewed its teeth out on the cage wires, and he got it so friendly that he would put a collar on it and walk it around like a dog, you know. And it got loose and went up Bountiful, and that caused a lot of problems. He had to stop doing that.
Yeah, I guess.
And then Arnold, his son, was a Navy. He was in the Navy, and he came back as a jiu-jitsu expert. Anyway, he would come over, and I caught a pheasant and put it out by our chicken coop and got all of its eggs and put it, or a chicken. I caught the pheasant, and I didn't have the pheasant, just the eggs. Took them over and put them on this nest by our chicken coop. Chicken went over and started sitting on it like it was hers. When they all hatched out, Arnold come over and turned them all loose. All that work for nothing, you know.
Did you receive money? Did you get an allowance as a child?
An allowance?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes they would give me some money once in a while, you know.
Did you spend it?
2 or 3, of course I spent it.
You didn't save it? I would think you would have saved it. You're a saver.
You don't save money when you're a kid, you spend it.
Oh.
Not until you earn your own.
Back then, there was not a lot to spend it on the ice cream store next door, and that's where some of my money went, but a lot of it was just from his salary he gave me, So, yeah, I spent my money as a kid, and that's why I'm not too rich today.
What were your favorite songs and music?
In music,
Mm-hmm.
Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony.
Really?
I really liked Rachmaninoff.
You want to sing it for us? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Do you want me to hum it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how about what was your favorite toy and why?
Toys.
Favorite toy?
Oh, one of the most favorites I got was a little airplane that flew around a tower on a wire for Christmas, and I loved that little thing. And I played with that for a long time, and you could kind of remote control it up and down on the wire and watch it go around. I thought that was grand. What else? We got an electric train, I think, one year, and I put it on a board, and we used to run that around. Robert was always muscling in on my stuff, and Dad was always hamming it up, but only with his, like he would take the football we get, put it on his head, and put a ribbon on it. Be weird.
Be weird.
I have video of that, so
Oh.
I can see that, yeah.
What school activities did you participate in?
What?
What school activities did you participate in?
Well, not a lot. I started noticing my hearing problem when I was in the mid-50s probably. And so I was in the chess club for a while. I was, what else? I can't remember really the speech. I was in the speech club for a while and did radio shows on the high school
Oh, you did?
intercom for a while.
Is that where Roger got his desire to go into that kind of stuff? Big Brother did it.
You probably got that from Mrs. Gill.
Oh.
Mrs. Gill was a very forceful teacher, and you will do this and we'll do it. She got me upset. That's one of the reasons I didn't like her class after a while and dropped out, because she got me up on the stage and they were supposed to tell me things about this script I was supposed to memorize, and I forgot part of the script. And they were trying to tell me from the audience the script, and I couldn't hear them. Mrs. Gill, what? You can't hear it. She started putting the B on me, and I got mad and left.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Talk about your hearing. Talk about that.
Okay, my ears are kind of floppy. Stick out.
Dad. No, talk about your hearing and how you found out you were losing your hearing.
Okay, my hearing's been a problem most all my life. I started noticing it probably as a teenager. I played a trumpet in a band at junior high, and one day I was playing, and the Rosengreen band leader come down and grabbed me by the ear and says, "What's the matter? Your ear's all plugged up?" And and then walked off, you know, but that started me thinking about my hearing really bad, and so I didn't participate much after. I played in the band at Bountiful High too for a while, but I had a buddy that played the trumpet much better than me.
Yeah.
And he would sit there, and he played first chair, and I played second chair, you know. I decided this is not good. I can't really tell what I'm doing, you know. So I quit that too. And I got into wrestling, and I was not a big guy. Got into wrestling, and they had, the teacher's name was Cook. And he was a football player at heart, and he wanted everybody to be football players, you know. He put me in with this guy that weighed over 300 pounds.
Gosh.
And I was doing just fine.
don't
I'd
do
grab
that
him by the
anymore.
legs, and I could trip him and throw him down.
Wow.
Yeah, except one time he just rolled over on me, and that was the end of the story. You know?
They don't do that anymore.
They don't
They
do
don't
that
let you
anymore.
do that anymore. They make you wrestle someone your same size.
I was in the CAP about that time, Civil Air Patrol,
I know the story.
and he was in the CAP too. And we used to go to the old Lund home up in Centerville for our meetings. And Robert was in the CAP, so I'd ride with him and we'd go up together, you know. And so I got involved in doing a little bit airplane stuff. And Robert was much more involved. He was a very smart guy, won a $2,000 scholarship for Phillips for his education, you know, when he was. Anyway, we went to CAP, and I got to be a airman second class or something like that. I can't remember what it was. And we'd go down to the, Robert knew another kid named Maynard Moss that lived in North Salt Lake. And he had a motor scooter, and I just had a bike, you know. I got the bikes. The bike was too big for me, but I would ride it because I'd put my leg through the opening in it and go clunk, clunk, you know. I ride that clear down to Skyhaven to see what was going on with the airplanes down there. They had a couple of old trainers that were just, you could play on as kids, you know. Got down there, and Maynard and Robert would go up in the airplane, and Maynard was a pilot, very young pilot. I think he got his license about 17 or something. He'd fly around, and then they'd land, and we'd look at the plane and flip the propeller around a few times, you know. But Robert went down one time when I wasn't there. He and Maynard went up to Idaho in the plane, come back and went to land, and the plane lost power right over the runway, about 300 feet straight down.
Oh my word.
And it killed Maynard. And his dad worked with my dad at Phillips Oil. After that, Mom, cool it on flying. Do, no more, you know.
Oh.
So they pretty well grounded us on that.
Was Robert okay though? I mean, he was okay, right?
Robert wasn't flying when it was actually Dean Hart, another guy that was flying with him down there. Dean Hart was a tough cookie. He made it through without dying, but that ended our flying.
How old were you?
I can remember, is that good enough?
I'm just like, were you driving yet? Because if you were riding your bike, you were
No,
riding,
I was not
you were
riding.
little.
I was not driving. I was following two guys that would leave
Were
me
you
in the
like in
dust.
junior high?
Or were you littler?
Or elementary?
Probably 5th grade, 6th grade maybe.
Oh, wow. Wow. And so that would put Robert, like, he wasn't
Just 5
driving
years
yet.
older.
He wasn't really driving a car yet then, or was he?
Robert?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he had a car.
Oh, okay.
Well, he borrowed Mom and Dad's whenever he could. We didn't have only but one car,
Okay.
so I don't know. This is getting fuzzy.
Okay, let's move on. Let's see here. Um, so, what world events had the most impact on you while you were growing up? Did any of them personally affect your family?
Yes, World War II.
Okay, details.
Uncle Howard was in the Navy,
Oh.
and so he was on a destroyer out there in the Sea of Japan. We were always worried about him. And when I was just a kid, 3 or 4 years old, he sent me some camouflage pajamas and I wore them religiously. I thought a lot about Uncle Howard, and we worried a lot whether he'd get back. He was one of the first ships that went in the Sea of Japan.
That's scary.
To close the war out.
That's scary. Okay, let's see. What do you know about your family's surname?
Well, you mean Brown?
Mm-hmm.
Brown is at a hill in Northumberland, England. I think it was England or something. Now, this is really genealogy that I didn't learn a lot about, but they came from that hill and they got mixed up with the English, and Grandpa Brown, great-grandpa Brown, great-great-grandpa Brown, William Brown, they all came from that area and settled in New York area. And then they moved on to, as far as I remember, came across with the pioneers. William Brown, I remember, was in Nauvoo about the time all the ruckus broke out. And he had just moved to Nauvoo and bought a 40-acre farm there. And the mob come over and says, "You can leave now."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, some of them were buying things too instead of just throwing the people out. He ended up getting money for his farm.
Oh.
But then he went down and joined the other pioneers that were on the banks of the Mississippi, I guess it was, in that cold winter, and they left and came across in wagons. And they would say that great-great-grandpa Brown would come up and visited them in the early 1900s. He was a great man for buggies, and he liked to ride in buggies, and he was best, and he would take people from place to place in his buggy. She says, Grandma Wayne Brown would say, "I can still remember him in the old days when he'd come up in his buggy and visit us here in Woods Cross, That's about all I know, except he was the first bishop of South Bountiful, and he built that first church in South Bountiful. The red brick one, and it had a big staircase in it that went up to the front door, kind of like temples or something. And I remember that church because when I was just a kid, like 5 or 6, you'd go down there and it had a balcony in it. and then it had a basement. The primary would go to the basement, and they'd hold Sunday school up at the balcony, and then sacrament meeting, people would be sitting up in the balcony. You'd hope like heck their kids weren't throwing anything over, you know. And that burned down after they built it, and they rebuilt it. Or no, before it burned down the first time, they built a recreation hall on the back of it. And but the original one burned down, and I had to go down with my dad, and we cleaned bricks and stacked them. So this was before the church stepped in and paid for everything to help pay for it. I'd help stack these bricks up, and then they'd come and get them and sell them, you know. So what else does it cross my mind?
What memory stands out the most from your wedding day?
What?
What memory stands out the most from your wedding day?
Fear, fear, fear. Yeah, I can remember kneeling at the altar and promising everything I had, you know, and that was kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because Kay was over on the other side, and she says, "I'm going to take everything you got."
What do you believe is the key to a successful marriage?
Just say yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Good answer. Okay, let's see. How did you find out you were going to be a parent for the first time?
I think I asked my Uncle Evans. No, I didn't. I didn't.
Dad. Come on.
Let's see. How did I find out?
Do you remember?
We went to the doctor and he told us, didn't we?
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Kay told me first, probably.
How did you tell him? Do you remember? Oh. All right. What was your proudest moment as a parent? I'm just kidding.
One of the proudest moments I ever had was when DeAnn graduated from college. You know, so, and she is so smart, you know.
Okay, now what was really one of your proudest moments?
As a parent.
Just raise your
As a
hand,
parent.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. There's been a lot of proud moments.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty good elementary plays that you guys put on, you know. And we used to go up to them until I got so bored that I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I don't remember you guys coming to mine very much. Being the fifth one. Let's see here. What was your profession and how did you choose it?
Well, I kind of used to ride with Robert. He was going to the U, and I was going to Trade Tech. At that time it was Trade Tech. Now it's Salt Lake Community College. And I always felt like I worked, as a kid I grew up with Gene Biggs, and he was a mechanical engineer. And I thought that'd be a cool thing to do. And so I went and took this mechanical drafting class at Salt Lake Community College. And I graduated. And they threw me out. No, they didn't throw me out. And I thought maybe this isn't enough, so I went down to BYU for a semester. And all they wanted was my hide for a missionary. You know, so I thought maybe I better do that too. And I went and saw Hatch Howard, who was my bitch at that time, also a distant relative. And he knew how wild I was, but he sent me anyway. He sent me to go, he told, so I went down, and at that time, you had to be interviewed by a general authority to be a missionary.
Oh, wow.
Now they just throw you out in the field,
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm set apart by a general authority.
I went, and the guy that interviewed me was Theodore M. Burton. And he interviewed me and scared me more, but I still didn't get discouraged, So I went, and
Where did you go?
I went to the north central states, which included Canada, half of Ontario, all of Manitoba, the eastern halves of North and South Dakota, a little bit of Wisconsin, and a little bit of what's under that? What's under Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Illinois, I guess,
Maybe.
or Iowa. Yeah, it was a big mission.
That is a big mission.
Yeah. One of the first things that happened to me out there on diversion day, the elders were riding a toboggan down the hill out by Golden Valley. And I saw this tree coming up. We were going pretty darn good. And I thought, we need to swerve and miss the tree. And they didn't. They wanted to kill me.
Did you hit it?
So I grabbed the front of the toboggan and flipped us over. And all 5 of the guys landed right smack on me and smashed my head into the
That
ground.
happened to me with Kenny on me at Sugar House Park. Anyway.
Yeah. But one guy weighed 300 pounds, and it makes a big difference. They were really trying to kill me. So I broke my glasses and put me out of action for a while until I got my hearing aid fixed. My hearing aid was in my glasses at the time.
Oh.
So, and that was a momentous minute, But we had a sister in this branch that was wonderful. She was just like a grandmother to all the missionaries. She come over and
Young grandmother.
Oh.
she kind of took care of me till I re-healed and got better, It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. I remember you telling a story about the car wheels in Canada when it was too cold.
What?
How you got your car going in Canada when it was cold.
Thanks to George Romney, everybody had Nash Ramblers, little things that were weird, And my companion there was Elder Greer for a while. No, I had several companions. I went with Elder Mitchell for a while, and he had to come home because his mission was over. And they had 2 or 3 others, and we would walk to they didn't have Nash Ramblers for everybody. So the TEs, the traveling elders, would give us rides every so often, If you didn't have to ride, you had to walk in 30 below weather out to your contacts, And several times I thought I was going to die, freeze to death before I ever got there. But people understood and they let you in even though they didn't want to hear your message,
Mm-hmm.
So that was tough on me.
The car.
Huh?
Tell
about the car not working?
And I got transferred just before Christmas, by the way, from where I was there in Minneapolis to Kenora, Ontario. So I threw my bags together and they all went in the buses that I was going on, I guess. And anyway, some of them never made it for Christmas. I had to wait for a while for my bags to get in to Kenora. Kenora's way up in the forest area. If you've ever been up there, it's 150 miles north of the border. And sister, we had a real good landlady that took us right in and set us up, and there was a lot of Indians up there, Sioux Indians. The U.S. drove them up there, you know, in the old days, across the border. And in Kenora, every Saturday night, you could go down there and step over bodies in the street. They were all drunk. And I took pity on one of them one time, and I was with, I can't remember who it was. Anyway, I was, come on, we'll take care of you, you know. And he was following me, and my companion was going, nah, 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 don't do that. And finally he just stopped and laid down and went out of the picture. And we got home, and that's just a few of the memories I have, you know. It was cold, the most momentous cold I've ever been in.
What would happen when you got in the car in the morning?
Well, in Fargo, the car wouldn't start, for one thing. So we were they had a tapered driveway. And Elder Greer, which was the big guy I was telling you about, he'd say, get in the car and you steer it. And they'd push it right out into the street and block everybody so that nobody could go until they pushed us and got us car running, you know. So that was my job there.
Did the tires?
Tires were frozen. They had triple pane windows. That's the first time I ever heard of triple pane windows. And then in your cars, they had these stick-on plastic things that would go over the windshield and keep you so you could see out, you know, it wouldn't frost over. And that's my memories of them, you know.
Okay. See here. Of all the things you learned from your parents, which do you feel was the most valuable?
Just say no. No, I don't know.
To what?
My parents were pretty talented. Like my father was, he went to LDS Business College, and he was trained to be a executive secretary. He could type 120 words a minute, and he could take shorthand, like you just talk and he'd just write it down, you know. Mm-hmm. So I was looking at them and seeing how wonderful they were, you know, and wondering how my mission was going to help me there, and it didn't.
So what did you learn from them? What was the most important thing you learned from them?
From what, my mission?
From your parents.
From parents. You better do it or you're going to get whacked.
That's what you learned.
If you missed the bus, you got whacked. And not always by your parents. There was one gal, you know, remember Susan Anderson? She was kind of a tomboyish gal, and I made some comment as I was climbing on the bus. She was standing at the top, And she took her rag and she went wham and knocked me right out the door onto the ground of the bus, you know. And the bus driver took pity on me and waited till I got better to come up to get in it. I didn't really want to go in this, but she and Judy Riley were just as mean as any boy in high school. I give them wide berth, you know. This isn't working out, is it? Do you want us to race it all?
No, it's awesome. I love it. What is the one thing you most want people to remember about you?
Me?
Mhm.
My physique. Well, I was just a good guy, that's all. Pretty good guy. I tried to be good with everybody I met, you know. And what else is there? Is that it? That's the last one.
That can be the last one if you want.
Yay!
Okay. I could go on and on, seriously.